Lucy coming to you from The Guilt, the podcast to get all the inside scoop of all trials that are happening. Today, I'm here with juror number 3 from the 12 Angry Men case. This man has a strong disposition and was the last to change his vote in the case. Let's talk to him about it.
Hello, it's good to be here.
Glad to have you. Can you tell me about your background before being a part of the jury for this case?
Yes, I am the business owner of a business that employs 34 people. I think pretty highly of myself, and I am proud of my life and accomplishments. Going into this case, I had a relatively strong opinion, and I was very uneasily swayed in changing my vote.
What made you so sure that the accused boy was guilty at the beginning of the case?
Everything to me just seemed so well laid out. There was a testimony from the woman across the train tracks, and evidence was presented that made me feel that the boy had committed the crime. I mean, the woman even heard the boy. Like, what about hearing the kid yell, huh? I'm telling ya, I had all the facts right here.
Even once the case was over, do you think you really favored this reasonable doubt ruling?
No, I don't think so. I changed my vote at the end only because I had some reasonable doubt in my mind, and those are the rules of the court. However, I don't feel that reasonable doubt should for sure determine the verdict not guilty, because I still felt very strongly that the boy had killed his father.
Oh, I see. What was your train of thought throughout the case? What were you feeling when you were the last one with a differing opinion from the rest?
I just remember exclaiming, "What's the matter with you guys? You all know. He's guilty. He's got to burn. You're letting him slip through our fingers." And how all the jurors come in here with their hearts bleeding all over the floor about slum kids and injustice. They listen to some fairy tales.
What made you change your mind?
The first thing was when I got very mad at Juror 8 and said, I'll kill him, I'll kill him. Juror 8 responded by saying, "You don't really mean you'll kill me, do you?" Which made me realize that maybe the boy had said, "I'll kill you" to his father, more as an expression than actually meaning it. Eventually, there was too much doubt, and I just said, "No, not guilty, not guilty."
All right, well, thank you for joining us today. The next member from the case joining me today is juror number 8.
Thank you for having me.
So I've come to understand that you were the one who really stressed the importance of reasonable doubt throughout the case. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right. I just felt that the gravity of having a life at stake was far too great to just say guilty without examining it further. There was a life on the line, and that's not a decision that should be taken lightly.
What do you think that the largest piece of evidence was?
I think that the conflict surrounding the boy's intelligence and his motives was the most compelling piece of evidence because nothing seemed to fit. I mean, do you really think that the boy'd shout out so the whole neighborhood could hear him? I don't think so. He's much too bright for that.
Did you ever get frustrated with the other jurors?
Yes, the entire thing was very frustrating, but I tried to just remain calm as best I could. I remember saying to Juror 3, "I feel sorry for you. What it must feel like to want to pull the switch. Ever since you walked into this room, you've been acting like a self-appointed public avenger. You want to see this boy die because you personally want it, not because of the facts." I had just gotten so frustrated and couldn't contain it any longer. But I was relieved when at last Juror 4 said, "I have a reasonable doubt now."
Do you think that the trial was fair? Do you think it was a just outcome?
Yes, I think that it ended very fair. It's always difficult to keep personal prejudice out of a thing like this, and wherever you run into it, prejudice always obscures the truth. But we have a reasonable doubt, and that's something that's very valuable in our system. No jury can declare a man guilty unless it's sure. Because of that, I'm glad we decided not guilty.
Thank you for your time, Juror 8. Now we have one of the witnesses from the case.
Hello.
She is a woman
Thank
who
you
lives
for
across
having
the
me
train
here
tracks
today.
from the apartment What was where your the murder perspective took in place? this case?
Well, here's what I think happened. I think the old man heard the fight between the boy and his father a few hours earlier. Then, when he's lying in his bed, he heard a body hit the floor in the boy's apartment. Heard me scream from across the street. I just think that both of our witness accounts made everything so clear, and I don't know how they voted not guilty.
Do you think that your own personal bias entered the case at all?
Honestly, I haven't thought much of that, but maybe. That boy has been a nuisance to me his whole life, always so loud and stealing things. Maybe part of me wanted to believe he'd done it just so he could go away from me. That sounds awful, but maybe.
That's a very interesting point. Did you find it stressful to be involved in the case?
Somewhat, but I think I was just acting on adrenaline from what I'd seen. Being in a trial is quite an emotionally straining event.
I can understand that. Thank you for joining us today, and thanks to all my listeners for tuning in. Catch us next week on The Guilt.